Hello and welcome. I'm Natalie. Let's talk about money. So today we're covering a situation that can basically catch anyone off guard. You're transferring money maybe from one bank to another for a big purchase. Maybe you're buying a car, so you need to get cash out, or maybe you're paying for tuition if you're in school, or paying off a student loan, or making a down payment on a home, or whatever else. And suddenly your bank blocks the transfer with a fraud alert because of the amount. It's craziness. So this happened to me this week, and basically if your bank can't reach you, the transfer is stopped and canceled, usually canceled. So I'm going to just walk through real quick what should you do and what are the next steps if this were to happen. I'm just going to break it down in very practical details so that you'll be ready if this were to ever happen to you, which hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you know all the steps to make sure all this kind of thing never happens to you. So in the end, the banks are here to help protect your money, protect your account. So they have, pretty advanced systems that watch for unusual activity, like transferring large sums of money or sending money to a brand new account or something like that. They have alerts that will trigger if there's something going on like that. So, and again, this is to protect you. This is protect you from scams and unauthorized transfers. Even if the transfer is legitimate, like mine was, any out of pattern activity may trigger an alert. And that's what happened to me. So I was attempting to transfer money from one of my bank accounts to a different bank account. Normally I transfer money back and forth, but the way the second bank account, it's an online bank, and the way the second bank account works has changed. So you can no longer pull money from other accounts. Money has to be transferred into that account. So in the end, I'm going to end up having to move to a different bank because that's too much trouble. I don't have time for all this nonsense. So that's what happened to me. And it did happen, I believe, because of the amount of the transfer. I know from when I used to sell cars that anything 10,000 or over would cause a fraud alert. And I know this. I know this when I was doing it. And I didn't even think it was a problem for some reason. But it was a problem. And so they did cancel my transaction. Unusually high amounts of money, well, it's not unusually high, but pretty much anything over $9,999 is going to cause some sort of fraud alert or some sort of alert, because it does also alert for taxes too. Or if there's a sudden activity from one dormant account that you haven't used in years, or if it's going internationally to another country, that could be another problem. So those are some of the things that can trigger it. So what happens when this happens, when this alert is triggered? Typically, your bank will reach out to you to try to confirm that you're handling this transaction. Now, for me, they apparently called, and I work a regular 9 to 5, and so I didn't see the call, couldn't answer the call. They did only try to call once, which irritated me. But if you miss the call, the bank basically will block your transaction until they confirm it's really you that's making this large transaction. So this could mean that your money maybe is stuck in limbo, or the transfer just gets canceled altogether. My transfer was just canceled altogether, so nothing happened. The money didn't move anywhere. It wasn't on hold or anything. So if this happens, you do want to contact your bank as soon as possible. So, if you can call them just via phone. If it's a bank that still has branches, just go to the branch. You could do it that way. You do have to be ready to verify your identity, which means, having your bank account number, probably the last 4 of your social security, maybe recent transaction history, stuff like that, that only you would know. You want to have that available so that when they're asking these questions, you can get through it easily. And then one of the ways that makes it more secure is also to mention the amount of the transfer that you attempted, the date probably, maybe the destination bank, all the information about the transfer that is what could be shared potentially to verify the account. And, most banks, and probably 99% of banks these days, have a mobile app. And while I don't know, if I was transferring a large amount of money, I don't know that I would discuss it via a mobile app. But if it's, a couple $100 or $1,000, maybe a mobile app you're comfortable with, you could discuss the problem and figure it out via mobile app. What you want is the bank to clear the alert. So once you get through, you've talked with someone at the bank and they have verified all the information is good and authorized the transaction, they may walk you through your recent account activity just to make sure everything is okay, just to make sure there aren't any last minute charges that have come through. And sometimes, this has happened to me once before, I believe it was when I was getting cash to buy a car. I was getting cash out of my bank, and I wanted to, I was like, I don't know, $5,000 or something, I don't remember. And I went to the bank to pull the money out, but they sent me a text that I had to then put into the little number pad at the bank to verify I am who I was saying I was. And so that may be something that has to be done. But one thing you want to remember is if you're able to speak with, or you have to be able to speak with someone along the way, but when you're able to speak with someone, make sure you ask them if the transaction has been completely canceled, or if you have to wait for the transaction to be canceled in order to complete the transaction, or just start over. Which one? Did it go through, or do you need to initiate it again and start over? And of course, write down any reference or confirmation numbers that they may give you during the conversation so that you can look back to that or refer back to that as needed. Now, my bank that I was transferring money from, that bank canceled the transaction because they couldn't have the bank I was transferring to verify that it was my account, because the bank I was transferring to doesn't do that without me on the phone. And I didn't know this because I didn't know they were even calling that bank. But so just be clear on some of the rules that your bank has. Now, one of the things is if you have to resubmit the transfer, you might want to start off with just a test transfer first, maybe transfer $50 or something, just to make sure it's going to go through. And if you can log into the mobile app to see that the money has come through on both accounts, the first account that it left that account and the second account that it arrived at that account, that's maybe the best way to do it, because then you can see both transactions or the full transaction from start to finish, and that can help. So just for some proactive steps, just for future transfers, probably let your bank know in advance if you're planning to transfer a large amount of money, or if you're transferring money to an account you don't normally transfer to. Perhaps they can release some of the fraudulent scanning and allow the payment to go through, or the transaction to go through. And you should, on all of your bank accounts or any of your bank accounts, you should set up fraud alerts on your own. You can set up alerts that if a certain amount of money is transferred or spent or whatever, you'll get an alert, you'll get a text that says, hey, someone just tried to spend $3,400. Is this okay? Is this you? And you can verify it via the text. And so that's something that I have on my account, and I've had that on there for quite a while. And it is helpful because when I'm buying something big, I want to make sure that it's me buying something big and not someone else. And then what happens if the person on the phone can't help you? This is when having a bank that you can actually go to a bank branch and talk with someone in person, that's when this can really help, because you can provide them with paperwork showing it's you, showing your address, showing your ID, your bank card, or whatever. That's when it's very helpful to have a bank in person that you can go to. So sometimes sticking with banks that you can go to in person is better than these online banks that are popping up everywhere. And then once you finally do get the transfer to go through, just obviously verify that the money left your sending bank and it arrived at the arrival bank. Make sure you can see the full transaction and that you've got your money. And naturally, whenever you're dealing with money, whenever you're dealing with a bank account, never share your banking passwords with anyone, not even the bank. The bank will never ask you for your password. Never. It will never happen. Again, they may send you a code that you have to enter, but they will never ask you for your password, okay? And don't ever give that information to anyone else either, or any special verification codes to anyone else other than a bank representative. And of course, there's lots of phishing scams, all kinds of scams all over the place. Just be aware of what you're clicking on, who you're speaking with. Verify everything before you start sending money around the world. And then obviously keep your banking apps up to date in terms of the security terms. Whenever there's an update in any of your bank account or bank apps, be sure that you do that update, because that's part of the security, is doing those updates. And if you travel often, or if you don't travel often and you only travel once a year, you may want to alert your bank that you're going across the country or to a different country, so that they loosen up the fraud alerts a little bit. You don't want them to be off by any means, but you don't want to get a million texts a day because you're spending money in California versus you live in New York. You want to not have constant interruptions throughout the day. So, let your bank know that you are going out of town and what dates. That can help you. That helped me when I traveled overseas I went on a long cruise, and that helped us because we went to 3 different countries. And so all 3 countries, obviously, we were spending money in. And so it was fun. But since I told my bank that I was doing it, they didn't keep sending me alerts that it was fraud. So that's it, really. If your bank blocks a transfer because of a fraud alert, don't panic. It's going to be okay usually. Just follow the steps. Just respond quickly, confirm your identity, double check your details, and keep communication open with your bank so that they know you're aware of what's going on and that you agree or you authorize the transactions. Proactive contact and accurate info are a key to making it a smooth transfer or a smooth transaction, and make sure that you're able to move the money the way you want to. So remember, invest in yourself today so you can make a difference for others tomorrow. Give the video a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you should hit the bell so you know when the next video comes out. I thank you so much. Y'all have a great one.